Peter Drucker once said that the whole purpose of a business is to recruit customers. Nothing is more important than customer experience. And I don't mean just a good customer experience, I mean a lights out customer experience. I mean a customer experience that is so significant to you as the person who's experienced that you become a promoter for that company and their experience with your other friends. And that's the power of the world we're looking at, where customers are the ones who are delivering the most authentic, credible reference of a product or a service. So let's look at some examples of companies that have just had lights out customer experience. And let me take a very traditional industry, an industry not known for great customer experience, and that's the airline industry. So much of the attention in airlines has been about flight delays. What's it like when you get on the plane? Is the plane clean or not? What's the service like on the plane? But one of the things that really impressed me was what Delta Airlines in the U.S. has done over the last 4 or 5 years. Now, I never thought the experience in a waiting room in an airline terminal, particularly in the U.S., where our terminals tend to be quite a bit behind the times versus many of the terminals that you can find in emerging markets. Ironically, the so-called emerging markets actually have more advanced terminals than we do in a highly developed market like the United States. But here was a great insight. Delta recognized that a lot of the time that a traveler spends on their trip is not just on the flight, sitting in a seat, but it's sitting in the lounge waiting for your plane so that you can board. And many people have to get there early because they have to go through the security procedures, and you never know how long that's going to take. So Delta took an airport, LaGuardia, known to be one of the most antiquated airports just in terms of when the buildings were first built, going back many years ago. And Delta took the inside of their terminal and completely revolutionized it. They put in the most convenient way to charge your smartphones and your tablets. They put in a choice of stores that sold you foods that you could take on board the planes, because many planes don't give you meals anymore. They created an environment where the chairs were comfortable. They lighted it properly. And so now I find, whereas I used to avoid Delta if there was another choice, now I actually go out of my way to fly Delta. Why? Not because the airline experience itself is so different when you're on the plane. They can only do so much, but because they've done such a terrific job of a lights out customer experience when you're in the terminal waiting maybe an hour or more to board that flight. So that's the experience that I relate to my friends when they say, so what do you think of Delta? Or what do you think of the choice of airlines to go to a particular destination? Take a radically different example. Take Apple's Genius Bar. Apple has the highest revenue and profit per square foot of any retail organization in the world. There's no one who even comes close to Apple. And one of their lights out reasons for being so successful with their retail operations in Apple stores is what's called the Genius Bar. You have to schedule ahead of time an appointment with the Genius Bar. It may be to get your computer checked out to see whether is it slowing down because it doesn't have enough memory, or is there something that needs to be done to clean out the system because it's processing too many things that have come in over the internet. But for whatever the reason, you make your appointment, you show up, you're greeted at the door, and they say, hello, Mr. Scully, delighted you're here. You go sit up at the Genius Bar. There's someone there who personalizes the experience, and they walk through with you exactly what is the problem that you've been experiencing. And it's not until you are completely fulfilled with what you came in to get done that the experience concludes. Now that's a personalized lights out experience. Take Amazon, which is completely disrupting the whole model of e-commerce and making e-commerce very competitive with the personal touch of the best stores like Nordstrom in the US in terms of customer experience. But how does Amazon do it? They do it with technology. They use unstructured data analytics. They predict ahead of time the kinds of products that they think you might want based on the profile that they've been building with their previous experience with you. They give you the one-click shopping cart experience. They've gone out of their way to make the shopping experience on Amazon easy, and they offer the widest range of products because they run a virtual system. So it's an incredible experience to shop online with Amazon, and they may have started out with books, and they may have moved to a few other categories as they did with diapers and other types of products. But today they sell everything. They sell competitive with the fresh foods that go through supermarkets. They're building supply centers around the country so that they can deliver same-day service no matter where you are. They're moving into entirely new categories, and they're saying we're going to extend the reputation that they're building with customers to say, what you like that you get from us today, we're going to make that same expectation of lights out experience possible in almost any product or service that you can think of. So lights out customer experience, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Apple, whether it's Delta, or Starbucks. Starbucks takes a very simple idea, selling coffee and various other types of food products that you would want to snack along with coffee. But they've created a lights out experience. Now, how do they do it? Well, they train their baristas, as they call the people who serve, incredibly well, so that you are really treated special when you go in there. And they have a complex personalization of coffee. So you can get coffee many different ways. They customize it. It's a very simple ordering process. It's very simple waiting to get your product that's been customized delivered to you. And by the way, they don't care if you stay there for several hours, as many people do, and you settle in a comfortable chair. They have free Wi-Fi service, and many people actually look at it as their office away from home. So they have turned the whole experience of going to Starbucks to go way beyond just the delivery of coffee. It's the delivery of an experience that invites people to come back time and time again, and they become good enough in their training and how they replicate that experience that you know when you see a Starbucks that the Starbucks you went into in one city is going to be very similar to the Starbucks you go into in any city. So these are examples of exceptional customer experience. And then the question I ask is, why isn't everybody doing this? Now, why, for example, is it that the federal government hasn't started to think about citizens as customers? You know, I can tell you I've stood in line at the Motor Vehicle Bureau to get my driver's license renewed, and they close the office at 4:30, and as you get up till 4 o'clock, if they think that even if you've been standing in line for quite a while, that your line is going to still be pretty long by the time they close, they'll tell you that we're sorry, but you'll have to come back another time. I don't ever feel like I'm treated like a customer as I am at Apple stores or Delta in their terminals, or as I am with Amazon or these other great customer experiences. I feel like I'm almost doing them a favor when I go in and have to deal with a government representative. You know, imagine what would happen if the government actually got serious about training their employees to become as good at customer experience as the people who are working for these other companies. And why not? These are talented people. They could be trained, but no one's ever put a priority on saying the government ought to deliver great lights-out customer experience. So as we look at how you build an adaptive company, particularly in a transformative business model, the place to start is with the customer experience, a lights-out customer experience. And we're going to talk in the next section about how we do that in terms of building a business around a lights-out customer experience.